middle of Lake Hume. Wind! Made it. Awesome. You could certainly smell them before you could see them. Good morning from the shores of Lake Hume. It's a little bit chilly this morning and there's heaps of fog on the river, which is just gorgeous. So sunrise is happening in, it's probably only 5 minutes now. So I thought I'd better get up and enjoy it, given that the birds had woken me up. The lake is so calm, it's fantastic. Gosh, I hope it stays like this today. The waves lulled me to sleep, but it is wonderful to wake up to no waves. God, it's good to be out here. Not sure if you can see it, but on that big tree there is a sea eagle eating a fish. I've probably seen 4 pairs before him. Gosh, they're big birds. They're almost as big as wedge-tail eagles fully grown. And I've seen a couple of wedgies as well. So in the background there is the Waima ferry, my very first ferry on the Murray. The wind's picking up, unfortunately, so never mind. I'm going to cross over to the other side and hopefully it's a little bit calmer on that side. The sun came out and the wind left. How perfect. So there's no current in the lake at all. The wind has been pushing me backwards for the last day and a half, but now that it's not here, I'm thinking that this afternoon might be more productive than it was originally looking. of Lake Hume. Very lucky to have it on a day like today. If it was any blowier, I wouldn't be out here, that's for sure. If today was like yesterday, there is no way I'd be paddling out here right now. In fact, I probably wouldn't be paddling at all. I probably would have been windbound for the day. You've got to be careful on lakes like this. It can get really dangerous out in the middle. But on days like today, when I know that the forecast is for very little winds all day, then it's safe enough. Only a few more kilometres to go for the day and then I'm done. Some tortellini boiling tonight, cheese tortellini, and I'm having it with a creamy mushroom sauce. So I'm just making the sauce at the moment. I've got some garlic chopped up here and just chopping up some shallots. Now I have my mushrooms already chopped up in my bowl, my other bowl. I will turn the flame down to low because I only need it to simmer using my Trangia ring. There we go. That's not too hot. And put the lid on. And that will keep it nice and warm while I cook the sauce. I'm going to scoop some butter into there ready to fry the mushrooms. Now we'll just cook these until, well, they're nicely fried, basically. Yum. So this is the cream that I bring to have with this meal. So it's shelf stable, lasts for months, if not years. So we'll pour in our cream, crank this right up so that it reduces down to a thick sauce. I only have this meal when I'm either hiking or paddling because it's fairly calorie dense. I nearly forgot. So I'm going to put in a little bit of mushroom seasoning. I get this from the Asian grocer. And I'm also going to throw in a couple of lumps of dehydrated spinach, which look pretty awful right now, but spinach rehydrates really well. Okay, so back to full flame, and that should reduce in no time. So I'm just going to throw in a little bit of salt and pepper as well. Every time I put salt in, I think of Matthew Poser. Not too much salt, not too little salt, just the right amount of salt. That's the sort of thickness of the soup. Oh, lovely and thick. So, there you have it. I'm going to leave you to it and eat this while it's still warm. Yum. Okay, day 5, here we come. Gorgeous. Wind. Who the hell does this wind think it is? Right. It's a pair of whistling kites out here. Dive bombing for scraps, I reckon. The wind has picked up from this morning, and it's picked up slowly as I've progressed down the lake, but I've been riding a beautiful tailwind, so that's been great. I've really enjoyed that for a change. Now that I'm feeling very confident on wavy water, it's not so bad since I've been doing the Lower Murray and getting plenty of experience there, but I would say you probably wouldn't want to do this right hand side of the lake if you're inexperienced with windy water. Probably go down the Victorian side, the left hand side, and then come across at the bridge here. So I'm going to meet up with Dave to get a helping hand around the Hume Weir. So bless him, I don't have to drag my canoe 1.5 kilometres around the weir. So grateful for this, you've no idea. So I'm just going around the corner to see the dam from the lakeside before I head back to the boat ramp to meet Dave. Made it. Awesome. 5 days to get this far, which was about what I expected. And another day into Albury. It's another 30 kilometres or so past the dam into Albury. So I suspect the river is flowing fairly well below the dam, so that should be just a nice trip one day into Albury. I headed back around to the boat ramp and began unloading my gear. As I sat there looking at the huge pile of gear I'd just moved, I contemplated putting it all back into Little Blue that afternoon and unloading it again an hour later when I'd found a campsite for the night. Just the thought of it made me exhausted. Then inspiration struck. I came up with a new plan, and thankfully my river angel Dave was wonderful enough to make it happen. I'd still launch from the bottom of the Hume Weir in a couple of days, but this way I could post my excess gear home first. So, with Little Blue safely strapped onto the canoe trailer and my mountain of gear in the van, we drove straight to Albury, bringing my rest day forward by a day. Another huge weight off my mind was that I wouldn't have to worry about finding somewhere safe to store my canoe while I was in town. Dave very kindly offered to store it until he dropped me off at the weir the day after next. So after a long hot shower and setting up my charging station, I luxuriated on a comfy king-size bed with my favourite post-paddle meal and settled in to catch up on my favourite Aussie YouTuber videos. Doing a quick shop in Albury before I take off again tomorrow below the Hume Dam. And the shoppers that are walking past me are looking at me very strangely, doing videos themselves in the supermarket. So, slight gear explosion in my room last night. So over there is my accommodation, and over there is the river. So pretty close if you did have to portage from the river.
Ticket to a better day, a rocking chair and a glass of wine, in the shade of a tree, and I'm feeling fine. There's not a lot to ask when life is going by so fast. One breath away, step up and say, hold on to what is real. The love you feel is like water in a glass. Don't try to separate the ones you hate.
The next morning we drove back out to the base of the Hume Dam. For me, this was a fairly momentous occasion. The Hume Dam is a major milestone in the river, so I set my camera to record, loaded my gear into Little Blue, posed for a couple of photos, thanked Dave for all of his help and for showing me around his hometown before finally pushing off. Heading downstream, just around the Willows, I caught up with a couple I'd met in Albury that morning, and we had a good old chat as we made our way under the Haywood Bridge. So I've launched with Fiona and Chris today. And we're just meandering down the river at the moment. So there's the Hume Dam in the background, and bridge number 3. There it is, the first blue river marker. 2,224 kilometres to go. Awesome. The countdown begins. I met a lot of fantastic people in Albury. I really enjoyed staying in Albury, and I can highly recommend spending a couple of days there, having a look around. The riverfront is gorgeous, and the people are really friendly and very helpful. So I've whittled down my gear a little bit, not a lot, not as much as I could, that's for sure. I just thought I'd do it in a couple of steps, get rid of the stuff I know is easy to get rid of, and then think about the things that I couldn't really decide on. So it all packed into my boat a lot better today. Ever since I passed the stone weir a few kilometres back now, the flow has just been fantastic. So brilliant day, gorgeous sun, out in it and having a ball, just playing in the swift bits. This is a really pretty part of the river as well. Oh gosh. Upwelling, just because. Must be the bunyip. Yeah, probably. Anyway, I should probably turn around. About to hit some snags. I love how ducks just dive. It's been a beautiful paddle down from the weir. The first little bit up to the stone weir was quite slow, very wide and open, and lots of upwellings, which were a tad annoying, to be perfectly honest. But once you get to the stone weir, then the current picks up. The river obviously becomes shallower and narrower, and that was a hoot coming down there. Good fun. It's slowed down a little bit now, but certainly not as much as it was this morning. So because I skipped this section when Dave picked me up and took me into Albury, I needed to come back and start at the bottom of the weir. So I'm heading back to where I have been for the last 2 nights, but by the end of today I will have gone past and we'll be back on track. No more backtracking to go.
And we just sing along, and I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time, don't you know that I would? 'Cause I'm just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever?
This is the Albury riverfront. So I've just left Albury and Dave's very generous hospitality. Thanks again, Dave. It was a pleasure and an honour meeting you. So I've got about 8 kilometres left to paddle for the day, which should be very easy in this current. So that's about an hour's paddle at the moment, slightly over. So that noise you can hear is a flying fox colony, or fruit bat colony. There's hundreds of them in there. This is just one tree. You could certainly smell them before you could see them. So I've been on the river for 7 days now. I started last Friday. It still hasn't really kicked in yet that this is a 16-week journey. Or has the potential to be 16 weeks. I think this week it probably is going to kick in. So I'm loving the fact that if I don't feel like doing a long day, I don't have to do one because there's no one waiting for me at a particular boat ramp. That is a really freeing feeling. Very different than section paddling. Definitely. Yeah. I've almost escaped civilization. I can still hear a highway in the background over there, which is a bit of a pity, but I guess as night falls it's likely to get quieter, less traffic, and in a few days' time I'll be back away from civilization again.